Hi, it's Margaret, and thank you so much for joining me here on the Gardening Me. Today, I decided that I was going to tackle a little bit of my border here in the front of the house. Now, when I do this type of thing, I do it one of two ways, and it really all depends on how I'm feeling. I either take one task, for example, edging, and I will edge the whole border, and then that's all I'll do that day. And then the next day I'll come by and I'll weed the whole border and that kind of thing. So I kind of do one task and I'll do it over a relatively large area. And another way that I sometimes do things, which is what I'm doing today, is sometimes I just want to see a task get done, i.e. fully finished. I don't want to go back to it. I just want to do it start to finish. Now, when I do that, I have to take smaller chunks. So I'm usually not able to do an entire bed and do all of the weeding, all of the mulching, all of the deadheading or pruning, and all of the edging all in one day. So what I may do, and what I am doing today, is I'm just going to take a small chunk of this front border, which is quite long. I would say, I don't know, 60 feet or something maybe. I don't know. But it's pretty long. I'm just going to take kind of a chunk of it. Maybe I'm thinking a 20-foot chunk, and I'm going to do everything all at once. So, well, not everything all at once, but I'm going to do everything in one day. And then that will be done, and the only upkeep I'll have to do in that area is the odd deadheading, the odd weeding, and that's basically about it for the rest of the season. So here's the area that I'm doing, and there is quite a bit that needs to be done. The first thing I think I'm going to do is what I actually find the most enjoyable, and that is deadheading. So there are a lot of iris here that have finished blooming. These are bearded iris, and I'm going to be deadheading all of those. And then this shrub here, this is a spirea. I can't recall the name off the top of my head, but I'll put it on the screen. And this has just finished blooming. So everything you see here are basically the spent blooms. So I am going to be cutting all of those off and just, trimming it up just a little bit. Now here, this tree is a Japanese lilac tree, and this was here when we first moved in. I don't know what is going on with this tree, but something is going on because it seems as if half of it has spontaneously died. So this half here on the right looks pretty good. That half there on the left, most of the branches are dead. The other thing about this tree is it has a ton of suckers coming up from the base. You can see there's a beautiful hosta in there, and the suckers from the base are basically overwhelming the hosta. So I am going to be cutting all of those suckers back, and we'll see where we go from there. I have a feeling that I will have to take out this tree. I honestly don't think there's any saving it. It's just too much of it is dead, but I'm not really prepared to do that quite yet. So for now it's staying, even though it looks a little bit strange. Then if we come around here, and I think I'm only going to go about to this area here. So I'm going to go around to where this is a daylily. I have no idea the variety. It was here when we moved in, and I will probably go up to here. I have some euphorbia. These are bonfire euphorbia. There is some tulip foliage that needs to be cut back. There is also back here a hosta that is sort of getting overtaken by the juniper, and I'm thinking I am going to dig this one out and move it. This juniper just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's amazing. When we moved in, this was a tiny little thing here, maybe 5 feet across or something, I think. And now I think it's literally 12, 15 feet across. I may trim back a few of the branches here and just move that hosta, for now anyway, right into this bare spot over here. So once I'm finished with that, then I'll just come in and weed the bed. And the bed overall isn't horrible, except for this area here. So all of the weeds will have to come out of this area right there. And other than that, I think there isn't that much to weed. There are a few blades of grass coming up from amongst the iris, but that's about it. So not too much going there. And oh, look at this. This is a thunderbolt honeysuckle. I love this shrub so much. It is marginally hardy here. I mean, technically it's not even supposed to be hardy here. It is a zone 6 plant. And the first year I had it, it actually completely defoliated more or less over the winter. And then in the spring, it kind of came back and it got some new branches, some new leaves. But last year, what I decided to do was cover it with straw. And that made all the difference. I love the color of this, those chartreusey leaves. I love the texture. I mean, this one is just amazing. So definitely worth that little bit of extra hassle covering it with straw in the winter. Absolutely. I think it may need a little tiny bit of cutting back because it is actually growing into the iris and I'm not sure I want that. So the next thing I'm going to do after cutting things back and deadheading is I am going to edge this area. This area here, I actually just put down some fresh mulch last fall because what happened is the grass kind of went like this and then like this. The corner was too sharp to mow in the area. So what I did is I brought the lawn tractor and I kind of made a natural kind of curve with the lawn tractor, something that I would be easily able to mow. So here you can kind of barely just see here. The sun's a little bright, so it's hard to see, but this basically like this is the line that the mower will easily do. And I am going to be edging all along that line. The grass is kind of encroaching on these areas. You see here, this is where the line was before, but I'm going to edge a little bit further out from that. Everything will be getting a layer of mulch except for the iris. These are bearded iris and they prefer to have the tops of their rhizomes up above the soil so that they get some sun exposure, although they are pretty dense in here, so I'm not exactly sure how much sun exposure they're getting, but they're flowering really well, so I'm going to leave them be. I am not going to put any mulch on those, but everything else will get a good layer of mulch. That is the plan. And let's get started. So I thought I would give just a quick peek at what I usually carry with me. I have my gorilla cart here. So when I clean up a bed, I usually kind of put everything in the cart so I don't have to go back and forth all the time. I have my Cobra head weeder. Actually, I have two in here. I love those. I have a couple of different sizes of pruners there. I have my big loppers. I have all my loppers in here. For some reason, I don't know why, but okay. And I just have a little tin that has like a pencil, pen in case I want to jot a note down or something like that. And I also have this little blue container, and there I put garbage. Sometimes I run into little bits of plastic and this and that and the other thing, and it's convenient having this just to kind of throw any bits of garbage that I happen to come across. And then I have my tub here, which is basically where I throw all of my weeds. And then for edging, these are my tools of choice. I have my half moon edger, which makes the best edge. I love it. And then I also have my shovel because more often than not, I will end up running into rocks or a big rock, and I will usually need a shovel in order to kind of get it out. I prefer to take that extra few minutes to get out a big rock and then not have to worry about it in future rather than working around it. So first things first, I am going to start here by deadheading the iris. I could go all the way down to the base of the stem, but I really don't feel the need to do that. I just usually go down past the flower here, and that's good enough for me. And while I'm in here deadheading, I'm also going to take out any grass that I see. I do try to take the grass out by the root, but I'm often not able to because it's kind of stuck in between clumps and things like that. So as long as I keep pulling it out when I see it, and when I do weed the beds, that's one thing I look for is kind of grass coming up amongst the plants. Eventually it'll kind of say, yeah, I think I give up, and it won't come back. So Okay, I have finished deadheading the iris. It doesn't really look like much, but I got quite a lot of grass out of there and a lot of deadheading was done. So I think what I'm going to do next is I am going to move on to the spirea. So what I'm going to do is cut it just below the bloom. Like in this case, I would probably cut it like around here. Or if the leaves are a little bit tattered or the stem is a little bit lanky, I may cut it down a little bit further just to also give it some shape because it is sprawling a tiny little bit. I think that looks a lot better. So now I'm just going to cut back some of the straggly stems here for the honeysuckle, and I'm also going to cut back some of those suckers that are coming up from the ground. My concern with cutting back the suckers, though, is that I think that a portion of the canopy here is those suckers. So right now, it kind of camouflages the fact that half the tree is dead. And because I don't want to get rid of this tree right this minute, probably we'll be doing that, I'm thinking, later in the summer when things kind of die down in the garden and there's less to do. This will be one of the projects that we undertake. But I don't think I want this tree to be that obviously dead. So I may leave some of the suckers still there so that it camouflages that a little bit. But definitely there's a lot on this side that I can see from here are only about 4 feet tall or so, and that are shading that hosta. Those are the ones that I'm going to concentrate on right now. So for the honeysuckle, I'm just going to go back. So this kind of branch is kind of going off into this direction here. I'm going to go back until I see the intersection of that branch and another one kind of going out. Like I'm going to go here, I think, and just cut it off like that. And the same thing with this long one here. I'll just go back to an intersection-y bit. There we go. And then this long one, very long one here. I'm going to go down here to that one. There. And that's about it for now. I like the way it's looking, so I don't want to, well, yeah, I like the way it's looking, so I don't want to really cut too much out, but I think that's about good. Oh, get rid of this spent tulip foliage here. And now let's get to these suckers. I am done cutting out those suckers. The ones that I left, I think, as I said before, form a good chunk of the canopy of that tree. Here is the poor hosta. It can finally see a little bit of light, which I think it will appreciate. So, I mean, hostas love the shade, but this one was being smothered. And there's another hosta over there that, again, was being kind of overtaken by the suckers, and now it can have a little bit of dappled light. I am going to do the edging right now and get a nice clean edge on this. There's 2 different kinds of edging. The first one is edging a border that already kind of has an edge that isn't just no longer sharp. And that's the super easy edging. So I have my edger here, and basically you just put it right along the edge, and then the edger has this kind of lip on it that you can stand on, and you just push it down like this, just straight down and then up. And then I kind of just lift that section up like this. You can take that out. and you get a nice clean edge, and you just kind of go down in that way and you get a nice clean edge like this where it's flat on this one side, and here it kind of, the way it just naturally falls is it kind of goes on an angle here. So when I put mulch on it, the mulch will go all the way here and then down here, but it will not go up here. This will remain soil, just the straight edge. You don't want to fill that up with mulch, because as the mulch decomposes, it's essentially turning into soil, and then the grass will grow in it. You want to maintain this as a clean edge, and so the mulch will be here, and then it kind of feathers out so that by the time it hits the bottom, it's only the barest amount of mulch, and that's basically it. So in terms of an existing edge, it's easy peasy. It really doesn't take long. The one thing though is that it is infinitely easier to get this done when the soil is moist. If the soil is dry, it is significantly more difficult to get your edger in, regardless of how sharp it is. Much easier after a really good rainfall. And if all else fails, and for whatever reason the weather has been really dry in your area, then I would suggest running the sprinkler for a couple of hours the day before you plan to edge, letting all that water soak in, and then doing the edging. So here I'm cutting a brand new edge. You can see right over here there's nothing, and what I do for that is more or less the same, with one kind of difference, and that is that I need to cut from both sides. So I'm gonna go down like this and lift. Oh, I think I can feel a rock already. Make sure you have your nice line. I mean, I can see in my mind's eye where the line is. So if you're not good at visualizing, you may even want to spray paint or something line on the ground so that you stay on track. So I cut straight down like this, and then, whoops, and then on this side though, I have to make another cut, but instead of cutting straight down, I'm cutting like this on an angle, because I want it to angle in the same way that other one did that was already cut. This one has no angle in to begin with, so I want to create that angle that goes down and meets the vertical edge. And so when I do that, you have to take all this out and outgo a few weeds too, which is not a bad thing. And, oh, see, I see a rock right there that I hit. And instead of leaving that rock for me to deal with another day, since I'm starting this area from scratch, I will just take it out now and make it that much easier for me next year when I come to edge. So around here, you never know how big the rock is. Oh, this one doesn't seem too bad. There we go. So this is what I dug up right here. So that's basically about it. Let me get rid of these weeds and this bit of grass here. And that's basically it. And then again, when I mulch, I'll put the mulch here, going down and getting a little bit thinner as it comes down and meets the bottom of the vertical bit here, and that'll be it. So I'm going to get started edging, and then I will go through everything in weed, then go through everything in mulch, and I'm hoping I can get all of this done today. Well, we are all done and it looks so much better. The grass needs cutting, and there's a bit of soil here where I put the hunks of sod and stuff that I dug up when I did the edging, but that will all wash in the next time we have a good rain, which I believe might be tomorrow. I did end up moving that hosta and I put it right there. I cut off a little bit of that juniper to kind of give it a spot, and it will be in full shade basically in that spot, other than right at the tail end of the day. That area gets a tiny bit of sun. The spirea is all cut back, looking a lot less shaggy than it did before. And here I did mulch right at the front of the border, but I did not mulch where the iris are, in between the iris themselves. And here is the thunderbolt honeysuckle that also got a little trim. And there is the hosta that was basically covered up by the suckers from the Japanese lilac, which looks decidedly more bare than it did before. Like I said, I did leave a few suckers in so it wouldn't look so bad, but I mean, that is looking pretty bad. I think we're going to have to do something about that sooner rather than later. My other concern also about taking it out right now is that I do have some hostas and, a few other shade-loving plants. And I'm kind of concerned if I take this down right now without anything to put in it, because I'm really not sure what I'm going to put here, that I'll either have to move what's already there, which I kind of don't want to do, or they're going to end up scorching. So yeah, things to think about. And that's about it. So thank you so much for joining me today, and we will see you next time. Bye.